ICH GCP review for clinical research coordinators. Introduction. A clinical research coordinator is pivotal in operationalizing clinical trials, ensuring they align with good clinical practice standards and protect participant safety while delivering reliable data. Clinical research coordinator responsibilities in clinical research include facilitating informed consent discussions, monitoring adherence to study protocols, managing regulatory compliance, and handling trial documentation, as well as reporting adverse events to sponsors and to IRBs. A clinical research coordinator managing a phase 2 oncology trial ensures all participants sign age-appropriate informed consent forms after understanding the risks and the benefits. Key points. The International Council of Harmonization for Good Clinical Practice serves as the global standard for clinical trial design and conduct. Clinical research coordinators must implement these guidelines daily to respect participant rights and guarantee data quality. Some of the selected principles for clinical research coordinators of utmost importance include participant safety, ensuring safety measures like regular vital checks during investigational drug administration, scientific integrity, so guaranteeing data consistency by adhering to the trial protocol, and quality systems, like monitoring data quality and using verified electronic systems like REDCap or Medidata. In practical application, a clinical research coordinator ensures that blood sample data is collected during a cardiovascular study and is securely logged into a validated electronic data capture system, maintaining accuracy and traceability. So the Code of Federal Regulations is the CFR 21 Part 11, and this part outlines the FDA's legal framework for electronic data records and signatures. Clinical research coordinators are integral in ensuring compliance with these regulations. So under CFR 21 Part 11, we manage secure access to trial databases by granting user permissions, maintaining an audit trail for modifications to participant electronic records, and validate electronic systems for data collection. For example, in a vaccine trial, a clinical research coordinator ensures the electronic data capture system automatically logs the name, time, and reason any participant data is modified. This safeguards compliance and data integrity for future audits. The overview of clinical research coordinator responsibilities in compliance would include system validation, like validating electronic systems for data collection, audit trial maintenance, so keeping a detailed record of all changes to electronic records, and secure access management, ensuring controlled and secure access to electronic systems. Sponsor and CRO responsibilities. Sponsors and contract research organizations coordinate trial oversight, but clinical research coordinators enable their success by acting as site-level liaisons. So the key role for the clinical research coordinator is to facilitate on-site monitoring visits by providing access to required documents like signed consent forms and deviation logs, communicate participant recruitment progress and trial milestones, and report critical incidents like serious adverse events. For example, if a participant in a rare disease study reports chest pain, the clinical research coordinator promptly documents the case as a serious adverse event and shares this data with both the sponsor and the CRO according to timelines defined by the protocol. So collaborative trial success is the mix between sponsor responsibilities and CRO responsibilities, and this clinical research coordinator is facilitating that. ICH GCP E6 Sections 2 to 4. Section 2, Principles. Clinical research coordinators ensure compliance with these operational principles every day. So for example, they maintain participant confidentiality by storing names separately from study codes. Section 3 talks about IRB or IEC roles. Clinical research coordinators prepare comprehensive submissions to the Institutional Review Board or IRB, requesting approval for study amendments like revising the inclusion criteria. Section 4, investigator roles. Clinical research coordinators assist the investigator in trial duties by documenting deviations or, for example, a missed visit or protocol compliance issues. A clinical research coordinator operating in a diabetes trial ensures adherence to the protocol requirements by confirming participant fasting periods before blood draws. Deviations are documented in the deviation report to the IRB and to the sponsor. The ICH GCP Section 4.8 is regarding informed consent. Effective informed consent underlies ethical research. Coordinators facilitate this process by clearly explaining trial details to participants. And research coordinators' actions during the consent process is to provide the approved consent in the participant's language of choice, confirm participants understand study risks and reassess as needed, and collect and file signed consent forms in the trial's regulatory binder. For a gene therapy trial, the research coordinator could ensure that participants understand potential side effects using visual aids and break down complex medical language into lay terms. So providing consent forms, confirming understanding, and collecting the file forms. Reporting responsibilities of investigators. Research coordinators manage reporting workflows for investigators by compiling documentation for adverse events, such as migraines after investigational drug use, or protocol deviations like unplanned vaccine dose timings. During a pediatric trial, a clinical research coordinator identifies an unexpected rash in one participant and documents this as an adverse event. It's forwarded to the investigator, sponsor, and the IRB within the required timeframe. Ethical research with vulnerable populations. So we need to protect the vulnerable populations, being children, tailoring materials for child-friendly diagrams, and ensuring both parent consent and child assent. Mentally incapacitated, confirming legal guardian permissions are documented. Pregnant women and fetuses, regularly monitoring and reporting maternal lab values. And prisoners, preventing coercion by discussing benefits and risks openly. So a practical example would be a maternal health study involving pregnant women, where coordinators coordinate frequent ultrasound reviews and update data logs to mitigate any risk to the fetus. So how should the research coordinator ensure ethical research with vulnerable populations? Thinking about obtaining parent consent or assent if it's a pediatric study, thinking about how to work with mentally incapacitated, or if there's another process that you need to implement that we've discussed, for example, with elderly adults to ensure there's no cognitive decline, or pregnant women and fetuses to make sure that we're monitoring and reporting maternal lab values or any specific change for this population. ICH and GCP adverse events. Key responsibilities of clinical research coordinators center around adverse event management. So this includes timely identification, documentation, and communication of adverse events. Systems like MedWatch are used for regulatory reporting of serious adverse event trends. Like during a dermatology cream trial, a burning or redness is observed, and this clinical research coordinator might log the data and consult with the investigator for immediate sponsor communication. Adverse event management process would be document the event, recording the details accurately, regulatory reporting using systems for trend analysis, or event communication, like sharing information with the relevant parties. It's important to mention that you could be involved as a coordinator in helping structure these processes if you're not documenting directly in the medical chart or in your electronic collection form directly. You could be doing quality control and making sure that the physician that's observing a symptom or conducting a follow-up on an adverse event, that information is documented and meets the reporting timelines. Trial management, like data handling and record retention. So the role in trial management for the coordinator maintains timelines for participant visit schedules using tools like CTMS if it's available, and oversee investigation product accountability, including the medication logs. This would be obviously in an open blinded study. If it's a blinded study, you would need to have a blinded coordinator take care of the investigational product specific information. Data handling. So clinical research coordinators ensure proper surveillance, including double checking the data that each adverse event form undergoes quality control before submission to the data management team, for example, or record retention. So essential trial documents like temperature monitoring logs are carefully archived by the research coordinator for the sponsor and regulatory inspections. So for example, a drug storage temperature deviation could be documented in the IP accountability log and notified to the sponsor and IRB as part of the coordinated response plan. Some summary tables. So we're going to look at some examples and the purpose. So managing informed consent, explaining risks and benefits in accessible language. This is something that comes up so much now that we need to make sure it's as inclusive as possible to all of the languages that are in our study population. So ensuring ethical participation and legal compliance. Ensuring protocol compliance, this would guarantee the study integrity and validity of data by verifying participant eligibility based on the protocol. And handling adverse event reporting, so to protect participant safety and prevent escalation. Reporting a serious rash to the sponsor and IRB would be an example. Overseeing data entry and validation, maintains data accuracy and regulatory compliance, and using EDC systems like REDCap is common or an example. Facilitating monitoring visits, so preparing regulatory binders for a sponsor and IRB review could be an example, and this would support trial oversight and ensure transparency. Some ICH GCP principles and applications include participant safety, monitoring participants during drug administration would minimize risks and safeguard rights. Scientific soundness ensures validity and reliability of research findings and could be seen verifying data consistency across reports. Audit readiness, guaranteeing compliance with inspections and audits and maintaining complete regulatory binders. And quality systems, so keeping your data secure and accurate for regulatory purposes using validated data tracking like metadata. So CFR 21 Part 11, compliance, audit trails. So we need to have accurate activity logs for oversight reviews. That could be logging data access in REDCap, access controls, so preventing unauthorized system use and data alterations, limits database login credentials to key personnel, and system validation, so ensuring accurate and reliable data collection tools, pre-testing forms in electronic systems, for example. Sponsor and CRO responsibilities and clinical research coordinator interaction. So from the protocol development stage, you would assist with site readiness and recruitment plans and raise your hand or sort of elevate any questions regarding things that would need to be changed to the protocol if you are trying to implement a new process or clarified in the protocol, so you can make sure there's no delays in approvals or doing future amendments that can be taken care of from the study startup initially. So that would be running multi-site a vaccine trial protocol, for example. Monitoring, so maintaining readiness with updated documents in the binders and reviewing site deviations during routine visits. And budget and funding, so distributing funds appropriately and logging expenses, allocating payment for participant travel allowances. Ethical research with vulnerable populations. The vulnerable populations, again, children, making sure we always have tailored materials for explaining the study and the expectations of participation, including informed consent for the parent as well as the child assent. Mentally incapacitated individuals or cognitive decline, thinking about documenting all permission records in regulatory binders and requesting guardian approval for consent. Pregnant women and fetuses, so prioritizing health of the mother and fetus in regular reviews and monitoring maternal vitals as often as required by the protocol. And prisoners, so ensuring voluntary participation with no undue influence to avoid coercion during recruitment explanations. Multiple choice questions. Question 1, under ICH GCP section 4.8, what is a key responsibility of a clinical research coordinator during the informed consent process? A, schedule participant visits without explaining study risks. B, providing blank consent forms for participants to fill out on their own. C, explaining study procedures, risks, and benefits in plain language. Or D, skip informed consent if participants appear to understand the study already. C is the answer. Under ICH GCP, informed consent requires providing clear, understandable information to participants, ensuring they fully comprehend study risks before agreeing to participate. What I can add to this is kind of the idea that your informed consent is not just a form that's being filled out and signed correctly. It's the process from the beginning of introduction of the study and sort of onboarding of a candidate to the whole process of finally documentation and signing at the end. So it's important to think of it as considering that you're complying with section 4.8 of the ICH GCP when conducting an informed consent from the very beginning to the end of that process. And then when you pass the agree and you continue on to the next eligibility and exclusion criteria, for example. Question 2, what is the primary purpose of maintaining adherence to CFR 21 Part 11? A, to avoid spending on electronic systems. B, to ensure the reliability and security of electronic data. C, to decentralize investigator responsibilities. D, to create a backup of only adverse event logs. Answer is B. CFR 21 Part 11 focuses on verified electronic records and signatures, ensuring trial data is secure, accurate, and traceable during audits or inspections. Question 3, what would a CRC document and report during a serious adverse event? A, biostatistical data only. B, participants' feedback on the study medication. C, details of the event, timeline, and any corrective actions. And D, daily vitals unrelated to the event. The answer would be C, all serious adverse events must be documented thoroughly with detailed information and submitting promptly to the investigator, sponsor, and IRB for appropriate actions. Question 4, does a CRC ensure ethical compliance when working with mentally incapacitated participants? A, obtain a verbal bystander agreement. B, seek consent from a legally authorized guardian. C, skip documentation if the trial risks are minimal. Or D, create an entirely new protocol for that participant. This one, I think we can say the answer is B. GCP guidelines mandate legally authorized representatives to provide consent when participants cannot, ensuring the welfare and legal protection of the individual. And lastly, what is the role of clinical research coordinators in facilitating sponsor monitoring visits? A, restrict sponsors from data review to protect privacy. B, ensure regulatory binders and trial documents are updated for review. C, delegate monitoring tasks to the clinical trial site participants. Or D, only grant access to specific parts of the trial protocol. So this answer would be B. Clinical research coordinators play a key role in maintaining updated documentation to assist sponsors or CRO teams during their routine monitoring visits, ensuring full transparency and compliance.